So it doesn't matter that you've got rent to own, owner, finance, and all that stuff. It doesn't matter if you lose everything. Is that right? In fact, some people, when they get hit like this, they go out of business. And they just stop. That's just the end of their road. And they never want to deal with it again. Jury gives worker $50 million. Hello? That would put somebody out of business. $2 million paint job. What if that paint job was on your property? You've got to think about things like this. How do we avoid it? How do we avoid the litigiousness of America?
And the stress.
And the stress, too, of a lawsuit. That's a cost, isn't it? Isn't it?
Yes.
You don't want the stress of a lawsuit. The game is not to get sued in the first place. Now, America is only 5% of the world's population, but 95% of the world's litigation. There's a problem. The only solution, obviously, if we could get all new leaders in there with a brain that aren't attorneys, excuse me, Stu, that really, seriously, that look at things from a different point of view, and not their own point of view, but like what's good for the people, we wouldn't do business this way. But everybody's at risk in this country. So thinking ahead, what do we do to protect ourselves? We worry about losing everything. And then we make a plan to make sure that doesn't happen. And we think about people like Ms. McComb, a one-time actress with a law degree. Is that a dangerous combination?
Yeah.
Has filed nearly 50 lawsuits against her neighbors, tenants, department stores, and others for all manner of injury. See, these are the kind of people that are out there to get us. She's been involved in 9 automobile accidents. Wow. Somebody could slam on their brakes, you'd run into them, and all of a sudden you've got a big fat lawsuit. That's what she does. And she knows the system because she's an attorney. And she knows what she can do. Who was it that was telling me that? Oh, it was Richard. He's not here right now. Richard from the other office, he was telling me he used to be an investigator for the government. And he used to go find people actually setting these things up. Isn't that fascinating? So there's people like that in the world. Now we've got to think. That could happen to us. And if we worked hard to create our future, people could take that away from us. So you think it can't happen to you, but it can happen to you because it can happen to any one of us. It only costs a couple of $100s to file a lawsuit. What are the filing fees here for a traditional small claims lawsuit?
Oh, above small claims, $470, $435.
$435. Okay, so it's going to cost us $400. It's going to cost anybody $435 to sue you. Is that cheap? Is that cheap?
Yeah.
That's really cheap. And you have to defend, by the way. If you don't, and if you don't answer in time, then you get something called a default judgment against you. Because you defaulted. In other words, you agreed that whatever their claim was accurate. If you don't answer, it's your problem. If you don't defend, it's your problem. Is that a bad day?
Yeah.
That's a bad day. Right, Isaiah? That's a bad day. Yeah. You don't want that to happen. So one word to describe your success is survival. We got to survive in order to win. You got to learn the magic of trust. So my friend Albert Einstein says intellectuals solve problems, geniuses prevent them. So to be a genius, we're going to have to create a different plan. Privacy of ownership. We can have privacy of ownership by placing property in trust. That means the land trust, our special friend here, the land trust, allows us to call the trust anything we choose. We can name the trust anything we choose. We can call it the Champagne Trust. We can call it the light fixture trust. We can call it the carpet on the floor trust. Or we can get creative. We could call it the Sister Mary Frances Trust. Sister Mary Frances Trust. Does anybody want to sue the nuns? You can get creative with your naming strategy. How about your vehicles? What if you placed your vehicle in the California Highway Patrol Retirement Fund Trust? And what if you were stopped one day and you had to produce your license and registration? What do you think the officer's going to say? Have a nice day. You need to slow down. Have a nice day. See, when you place your property in trust, do you own it? No, you do not own it. Who owns it? The trust owns it. So who are you? You're a driver for the trust. You're a driver for the trust. And one of the great things is that because you can name the trust anything you choose, then naming strategies become part of the game. In fact, I've got a whole CD on that conversation of naming strategies for the trust. Because naming strategies, would you agree, could throw someone off the scent. Now, when somebody's looking up who the owner of the property is, can they just go click, 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 and all of a sudden your name comes up? Yep. But if you don't own it, then the name of the trust comes up. And if the name of the trust comes up, then it could throw people off the scent. Good plan? Yeah. So these 8 CDs are designed to take you soup to nuts through the entire process, all the way through to filling out the paperwork. So you're not just going to have training today, and not just going to have training at the Millionaire Jumpstart, you're also going to have the CDs to refer back to at any time. Is that a good plan?
Yeah,
The forms are on the 8.
No. The forms are on the separate forms disc. Okay? So these are CDs to listen to, and then we've got the separate form to load to your computer. This is the documents file.
The CD similar to the book? It just,
Not similar to, exactly.
electronic version.
That's right. This is just to have, like the conversation we've had today, a training conversation. This is the training conversation. The system is the guidebooks. I call this the guidebooks. The guidebooks give you a filled-in version of every form and a blank version of every form and a step-by-step checklist. Good plan?
Do these talk to you? In other words, can you be in the car driving and listen, or you
That's-
sit in front of?
No, put that in the car. Oh my God. In this town, you're going to get educated in 2 days. This is only 8 hours of CDs. So see how fast you can get through this? It's a really great thing. Some towns, I speak to people, they only got 10 minutes from home to work. They never get through the CDs. But you can get through them in a short period of time. All right, so transactional privacy is another benefit that we get because you could buy 100 properties in the next year, nobody would know. Is that a good thing? Oh, it's a beautiful thing. Now, where do I get that? Of course, that's the land trust and the personal property trust. Now, what can go into trust and its houses and its apartments and condos and its hotels? You're seeing some of my deals here. These are deals that I've done. All of them in trust. Here's a subdivision right there. It's in trust. The whole, and in fact, because of the power of the trust, each lot has a separate legal description, each lot can go into its own trust. It's the legal description that determines what's in the trust. So, if it has a legal description, in fact, you might buy a property that has 3 different tracts of land. Well, each tract could go into its own trust. Is that a good thing? Ah, so now we separate and segregate. Does anybody in here invest in mobile homes? Are there any mobile homes investors in here? Okay, good. Think about a mobile home. The land can go into a land trust, and the mobile home can go in a personal property trust. So you can even have further protection on a setup like that, where the land is separate from the home. But when the land is part of the home, then it goes into a land trust. Lots, if it's lots, here's another trust. So the land trust is how to hold title, giving privacy, protection, and probate avoidance. Privacy, protection, and probate avoidance. Now, in the personal property trust, our other friend, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, bank account in trust. CDs, CDs, motor homes, mobile homes, airplanes, gun collections, coin collections, anything else that you may have in your life, those things can go in personal property trust. Jewelry, furniture, anything like that can go in personal property trust.
What about a leased car?
A leased car can go into a trust, absolutely. So the trust is the lessee, right? Instead of you as the lessee. So it has value, perhaps it has equity, so therefore it's entitled to go into trust for estate planning purposes. Always remember that. When you're talking to people out there in the world, you say for estate planning purposes. I see a lot of hands going up. Here's what we're going to do. During lunch, I'm going to have a Q&A session. So write down your questions. You're going to bring them up here to me, and I'm going to read the question and give the answer so that everybody has a shot at it. Because some people are shy and they don't want to raise their hand, but they will write down a question. So write down your question, put your name on there. I will make sure that every question gets answered. All right, so here's how our plan is going to work. We're going to start with the real estate going into a land trust, and then we'll have the beneficiary being a personal property trust. That gives us the second tier or the second layer of protection. Do you have to use a personal property trust? No. You could just do a land trust and have yourself as the beneficiary under the land trust. However, if you're paranoid that something might happen, if you have worries, then definitely you can add this second trust. You already own the documents. You'll already have everything you need to do it. Why not go ahead and just create this second layer of protection? Second layer of protection gives you a good thing. Now, the chart that I'm going to be showing you, by the way, is in your system. So I have the full chart laid out for you. It's in the front cover of the system, so you'll be able to follow along as we go through the system. And those of you who brought your system with you already have it. How many of you brought your system back with you when you... Ah, lovely, lovely. So these are folks that have already invested in the system. And now we're going to go, what other benefits do trust offer? Over 30 different benefits of trust. So let's think about that. Privacy of ownership, transactional privacy. Government has limited control because they don't know who the owner is. They know it's a trust. They may even find out that you're the manager of the trust. Does that mean that you own it? No. In fact, hand on the Bible, do you own it? No. It's absolutely true. You do not own it. And no matter how hard they try, and no matter how loud they yell, that doesn't change the truth. You don't own it. With these trusts, there is no relationship with state government. No relationship with state government. An LLC, a corporation, a limited partnership, is a creature of the state. It is a creation of the state. This is not. This is protected. How many of you believe this provides asset protection? When you don't own anything, nobody can come after you. Nobody will come after you because they can't see stuff to get. Is that true? Do you really pursue people that have nothing? In fact, attorneys advise against it. What are you going to get? You're going to get a judgment. The judgment is going to be hard to collect.
And legal fees.
On top of it. And legal fees on top of it. So, why would you do that? Move on. As opposed to someone who has 10 properties in their name, or even one property in your name. All of a sudden, there's equity. That could be a problem. Now, what about this? Let's say that you have a property worth $200,000, and it's free and clear. We put it in a land trust. Trust now owns the property. That certainly gives us some asset protection because we're the beneficiary. And remember that no matter what happens with the trust property, if they sue, the beneficiary has no personal liability. Okay? No personal liability of